You should have something like this, which is the donut with the strings. I built these little things in here. They're pretty easy. And what I want to show you how to do is build the leg. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn this off so we don't have that distracting us. And then we're going to build the bottom bit, which is going to be a ball and socket joint. And what we're really going to build, I'll just do a really quick grease pencil drawing here, is we're going to build like this kind of thing. And this is going to be like this. And then we're going to have like a round bit like that. And then we're going to have a sphere like this. I apologize for the drawings, but I'm using a mouse. Then we're going to have the leg that goes like that. And then what we're going to do is build like something like this. It's going to have a round bit with an axle through it. And then that will connect to the other bit that will go like that to the other leg. And then we'll build like a base kind of thing. And that's kind of that's the rough plan. So I'll build I'm going to build the ball and socket bit first. Let me just roll out the grease pencil work. Okay. So the ball and socket is pretty easy. We're going to start with a UV sphere. We're going to make sure that the sphere is pretty low res because this is going to turn into a pretty hefty model quite quickly. So we're going to make sure that our divisions are quite low. And we're going to use subdivisions and things like that to make things quicker. Okay, so here is this is going to be, we're going to do the ball bit first. And that's going to be the easiest bit. So what we're going to do is make sure we're in X-ray mode so we can see through it, and we're going to look at the side, and we are going to grab these bits and we are going to extrude up. And so now that creates the kind of like the end bit. We're going to add a subdivision on, and then we are going to go into shade smooth, and there we go. It looks a bit rubbish. It looks like a light bulb, which is not what we want. So we're going to add some more divisions. We're not going to add bevels, but we're going to use this to create the loop cut just to add some extra kind of definition on these bits. And so now we have that ball done, and we are going to add our material on, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that's our ball of the ball and socket bit done. Right, next up, we're going to copy bits of this, because what we want to do, and I'll turn this into, is we want to grab like these bits, and these are going to provide the socket bit. So we're going to duplicate and then mesh and separate selection. So now we've got two bits. We've done that before with the donut. So we're going to take this and we're going to scale it up. And you can see that that's now creating the socket. I'm going to make it quite big just so we can see what we're doing. What we can do is select all of them and extrude and scale. And that will create the socket bit, if you see what I mean. So now, and we just need to move them up there. So that's our socket, okay? Which looks a bit weird because we're in X-ray, but that's essentially what we've made. Right, next up, we are going to, again, we're going to add, the subdivision is already added, and it's already shade smoothed. And when we look at it without that, it's going to look a bit soft. And so what we want to do is add more of these. So I'm going to add one in here and just add one on the top there. And what that will do is just add a little bit of crispness to it, just to make it a little bit better. If you want to add more, you can, but more detail equals more slower render times, and I think that that's good enough. What we're going to do next is we are going to extrude this area down. So we're going to grab all of these bits, which is a bit boring because it takes a bit of time, and go from the right again, because we just want to make sure that we are always extruding in the right direction. We're going to bring that down. Just eyeball it. You don't have to really try too hard to make it look good. And then we're going to add some definition again and definition down the bottom. Right, so that's the socket and that's the ball. Okay, easy. Right, we're going to finish the base of this. So what I'm going to do is back into X-ray mode, look at the side, go to faces, and I want to grab this lot down here and I'm going to delete them. So delete the faces. And now what we got, if we collect the edges, we've got this little ring here. And what we're going to do is extrude and scale. So we've got this, and then we're going to extrude down. There we go, turn off X-ray, and you can see we've got that. So if you want to make it like sharp edged, you can, or if you want to keep it smooth like that, I quite like it like that. I think it looks quite natty. And then when we go here, you can see that we got this. I'm going to change the color of that because I don't want it to be the steel. I want it to be the copper. Okay, there we go. So now I've got the metal ball and socket joint. Easy. Okay. We'll relabel them later in the outliner and put them into a collection. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a cylinder, and this is going to be our leg. You choose what it looks like. I'm not going to scale it. I'm going to go to edit mode and I'm going to grab the face and I'm going to move that up, and that's going to be our leg. Then I'm going to go to here, add a bevel, shade smooth, and add my material. Okay, there we go. So now we've got the leg. Choose how you want to position it and whatnot, but that should be easy enough. Right, next I'm going to make the joint. The joint is probably the trickiest bit, but once we've made one, we'll make loads. Okay, so I'm going to turn all of this off and I'm going to make the joint. So I'm going to add a circle, which does seem a bit weird. I'm going to rotate it 90, so it's on this direction, and we're going to do the modeling kind of using quite simple shapes. I'll press extrude scale, something like that. It's probably okay. And then we're going to select everything and we're going to extrude it this way. Use the extrude key, that would help, and make something like that. That looks about right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide in the middle, like here. And down here, I'm going to get an extra division, so I have like a middle bit. So now I've got like a bunch of these in the middle, and I'm going to press Option to grab the lot, and I'm going to scale them wide like this. And what that does is it gives us like a nice ring to use as our. And I'm going to grab 4 of these, or you can grab more. It does not matter. You can do as many as you like. It's your design. And then I'm going to extrude these out. And this is going to make our kind of joint mechanism. And then I'm just going to scale this so that we end up with something flat. Okay, this is cool. Then I'm going to go here, add a bevel. Don't make it too big. Add some divisions, shade it smooth. Go here, add your material. Nice, easy. If it's not looking smooth enough and you want it to look smoother, then add in a subdivision. That will make it look super crispy, but at a cost of rendering. So the rendering will take a while. Right, so what we've got is this, like that. And I am going to, what I will really want to do is I want to make sure that this pivot point here, this is the pivot of the whole thing, is right in the middle of the object. So the way that you do that is you go to edit mode, you select everything, and then you move it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a grid snap. So I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to do absolute grid snap, and I'm going to shift this so that this is now right in the middle. When I go back into object mode, I can see my pivot point is right in the middle of where I want this to rotate. Okay, this will become important later. Okay, I've still got grid snap on, and what I'm going to do is I want to move this like over here because I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate it, put it over here. So you can see that I've got like 4 exactly. And then I'm going to go back here and I'm going to duplicate it again so that when I put it into the middle, everything is evenly spaced. And now I can take this one and rotate it 180. And now you can see I've got a kind of a gear system. So I'm going to build an axle to go in the middle now. And that's pretty easy. So I'm going to add a mesh and a cylinder. I'm going to make sure that it's rotated 90 because we want it to be like that. Scale it, you can just do it by eye. You don't have to be exact. And you can see that we've now got a nice axle. So what we want to do is we want to bring this point here on this, and we want to bring this all the way to the edge. There we go. And we can do the same on here. Wonderful. So everything looks and everything is kind of ordered. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to finish off my modeling. So I'm going to press extrude and scale, and I'm going to move it a little bit this way, and I want to do extrude and scale, and I'm going to leave that like that. I'm going to do the other side. So extrude, scale, extrude, extrude and scale, something like that. So now I've ended up with this. It's not even, so just try and make it even if you can. So I'm going to just select all of these, and I'm going to try and make it as close as I can. It doesn't matter if it's not exact. Okay, then I'm going to add a bevel, because the bevel will cover up most of the problems. I'm going to shade smooth, and now we have an axle. And what I'm going to do is just add the steel. There we go here. You can see that we've got an axle. Nice. Okay. Then we're going to take all of this. We're going to turn on our objects, and then we can move this up like that, rotate it 90, and you can see that we've got, didn't do that, rotate 90, press return, that would help, and you can see that we've got like a kind of a system, like a robot arm thing. Continue this, and then build the foot however you want. So I'm going to duplicate, move this up. It's going to be off sort of forearm or something like this. If these things are too big, just scale them. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do. And move that like that. That looks good. It doesn't need to be perfect, but the pivot points do matter. It's especially on these. Everything else doesn't really matter too much, but this one you can see the pivot point is there. This one it doesn't matter. This one it doesn't matter. This one it doesn't matter. These it does. But that's all good. Now what we're going to do is we are going to make a foot. So I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to bring it up there. I'm going to scale the whole thing up. I'm going to grab this edge and bring it down. Sorry, that's my fridge. And then extrude scale, extrude, scale, and then however you want this to look. If it looks a bit odd, then just it's probably because you need to go Control A and apply scale to it. or you need to go into here and you need to kind of maybe not have the bevel or add a subdivision onto it, and then that will make it a little bit crisper. Okay, I'm going to change the material in this, so grab that and I'm going to change that to copper, and there we go, leg made.